So friends, we have these four pillars in Merchant Navy: SOLAS, MARPOL, STCW and MLC. People are very strict when complying to SOLAS, MARPOL and STCW, but not so much when it comes to MLC. Why? Because MLC, they think we can get away without complying it in a right way. Most of the people you ask, even captains, chief officers, they will say, "Arey, this is just a regulation, we can't actually follow it," without even trying. Because if they try to comply with work rest hour, if they try to report violations, their workload increases. They have to raise non-conformity, they have to probably answer to few questions. So at a management team like chief officer and first engineer, they don't want to plan their work, they don't want to put that effort to plan their work and plan their crews rest work. So they will just call blindly anybody that is easy for them and let it have any violations. They don't care. Same for master. If chief officer is adjusting work rest hour, there is no violation, no NC, no red, everybody is happy, company is happy, and the
business is happy.
Yeah, the management team is happy. But the problem with this, Tarun will explain.
See, the problem is we need to understand why MLC has got different folds to it. Work and rest hours is one of the folds of the many attributes. And MLC should not be just only on the basis of work and rest hours, because I think that's the weakest link in MLC. But you see, any other implementation of MLC has been very, very effective. Say like for minimum age requirement, qualification requirement, their MLC has been very, very effective because you have got less windows to interpret anything. Now, what happens with MLC work and rest hours is a lot is left to the interpretation, that you cannot violate it for operational reasons. But you do not categorically mention what operational constraints are, and they are sometimes left to interpretation. And we as shippies like not foolproof system, we want foolproof system. So that people of different competence can still be brought together and harmonized. For example, like you said, MARPOL. Why there is absolute compliance with MARPOL? It didn't happen in one day. People were emphasized, they were trained that why you cannot have any non-compliances. Company have lost business, they have been out of business for non-compliance. Likewise, people do not realize that when you do not comply with rest hours, not work hours, rest hours, first of all, you are putting your own thought process, your decision making capability and your rightful judgment at stake. Like it is clearly categorically mentioned in IMO that a person who's not rested enough is like a drunk person. Problem with when you're not rested is that lack of rest does not smell. Alcohol you can smell and say that you look like you're drunk. Please, we need to understand as seafarers that more than anyone else, commercial endeavors or paperwork, our own self, we are hampering our safety, and thinking the way we should think is jeopardized when we are not rested well.
I feel my management team is lazy. They don't want to do their work. Chief officer don't want to take effort. So that is why they just easy thing is to call everybody and let everything violate. But this is not the right thing to do. And I will ask Tarun, how many ships you think the practice is going on that cadet is filling up the work rest hour for everybody on board?
I would say that the harsh reality is that most of the ships, many of the ships, and why this is happening is because we are not able to convince the onboard staff, and sometimes we are not even able to set the right example, that when they have reported a non-compliance of taking it and accepting it, we start questioning them back that yes, sometimes it happens. Most of the time it happens because of our lack of planning or because of sudden changes in pilot arrival times, unplanned delay, so on and so forth. The idea is not to blame the ship staff. The idea is not to blame the management ashore. The idea is that the owners and the charterers, they need to emphasize more. Because they are the key people. Everybody is trying to impress them by not showing non-compliance. The master is trying to. So the owners and charterers needs to come forward and say, no, we would like you to report more, and we will be happy to see more non-compliance.
In my entire career, no owner or charter has said that, okay, we don't care about work rest hour, your crew is tired, you still burn the ship. This is an unnecessary commercial pressure or unnecessary unwanted pressure which masters have taken on their shoulders, which nobody asked them. You explain them proper reasoning. I will tell you my example. I was doing a transatlantic passage and my chief officer's work rest hour was violated in just one port, Fujairah, because of so many things happening, bunkering, inspections, vetting, everything. And he wrote correctly, whatever. And there was a violation. Next port, we had a vetting, BP vetting, and he gave an observation. and what we see is a additional third officer walking in. I was third officer and I got one more third officer. You can imagine we had really good time and everybody's rested. So when you report, when you do the right things, then things will move in a right direction. But this requires effort. Why can't master fill his own work rest hour? How much time it takes? Why can't everybody fill their own work rest hour? For Indian crew, many times I've heard that we don't know how to fill work rest hour. You stop their internet. These guys are able to use mobile phone. They are able to do WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Reel, Story, everything you are able to do, and you are not able to fill work rest hour in the computer. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. It is as simple as that, From the time you started working till the time you rested, you have to show yourself working, and everything else is software. It will calculate how much you have worked and how much you are you violating anything or not.
Because the thing is, the side effect of fatigue, like I said, you cannot see them directly.
Yeah.
They're always indirectly hampering you, compromising your safety. Whenever you say, like I said, an example of an alcohol, if you show up drunk on the bridge, I can immediately make out.
Yes.
With your actions,
Yes.
the way like you appear. But the consequences of fatigue, they are not directly affecting, like cannot be observed directly, and henceforth we think it's okay if we are not complying. 2-3 घंटे में क्या फर्क पड़ता है? It's not like that. And the crew, when they say we do not know how to fill, trust me, you guys are like losing your money, you're losing your rest, and you're losing your wise sense of judgment. So please learn how to use that software, and I will put a lot of emphasis that if one day before arrival, if you start using that software on roughly on your estimate on your time of arrival with few delays, you will realize that even though you are not able to have an absolute compliance, you will be able to minimize non-compliance and maximize compliance. Trust me on that.
Yes. These small risks and these non-rest, it will not happen. Nothing will happen is going to happen in one port, two port. It will lead to a big disaster after some time.
Yes.
So as a junior officer also is my suggestion, if your senior officer is as a cadet also, if they are asking you to fill everybody's work rest hour, you have all the right to tell them no. It is supposed to be filled by own. I will fill only my work rest hour. You should challenge. And with this new generation, I have full high hopes that these guys will challenge. They are upfront, they are talkative, they are not like, conservative. They will speak up. So speak up, because you don't want to end up in an accident and, not be able to go back home safely. That will be a bigger disaster. So emphasize on proper work rest hour filling, and I will tell you guys, the ships which are not reporting any violations ever, that only means that they are fudging the records. Because no ships run without violations, and the ship which is reporting violations, who are correctly filling up, raising NCs, those are a ship actually using this work rest hour to their advantage.
Compliance in aviation industry, absolute compliance with work and rest hours. Why is it possible there? So the shipping industry needs to study their model, that how they are being so competitive in the business, so commercially driven, and yet there is no non-compliance. And why is it that we are having issues with our work and rest hours now for ages? At times you are blaming the ship staff, at times the ship staff is blaming the shore staff that unplanned delay happened, so on and so forth. But if we want to learn how to effectively apply and get the results through work and rest hours, trust me, study the model of aviation sector. They go with absolute compliance. If you get a non-compliance in aviation sector, chances are that your license will be cancelled.
How many times we have seen that some machinery is being opened up in engine room, and you will find all the engineers, motorman, fitter, everybody there. So this is another thing which I have noticed. I don't want to take name of any particular nationality. This can happen with anyone. But आदमी दे दो. अरे, work has not started. आदमी दे दो. Yeah, think about it. How many people you need? You start the work. Probably you start the work for lifting something or moving something for like 10 minutes. You need an additional hand. But instead of doing that, आदमी दे दो. Full time that person will be there sitting doing nothing. So plan. And try to work single-handedly. When I ask people that we can do stations with 3 persons, they are shocked. No, it's just, sir, it's not impossible. It's just impossible. But then when they do, how I am operating, how I am not pressurizing them to use 2 winches together, one by one, how I take all the pressure from the pilot, how I stop him, and we do it in a calm way. Everything is possible. So we have to lead by example and start doing the right way. And it is very disheartening and disappointing to hear from some senior officers, captains, chief officers, engineers, sir, this cannot be followed. This is just a regulation. It is just disappointing for me. You haven't even tried to do your work. My ships, I have been able to follow it. All my crew members are always happy that I try to give them enough rest. What the idea is to provide as much rest as possible and try to comply as much as possible. Now we end up having a violation, we raise an NC. If these violations are happening on a regular basis, say you are on a strict port, every day you are doing tank cleaning, short port calls and regular cargo operations, then when you report you will probably get an additional hand to help you better.
In that case, we must report it. That's number one. Number two, when you report it, and you have reported it after putting a bit of a mind to it, even the the shore staff realizes that they cannot question you back. But the most of the times when we end up reporting the non-compliance, it happens is that we are filling them after the non-compliance has happened, and there is no planning when we present our case. And the shore staff, when they review it, they see that rather than the non-compliance happening because of the lack of manpower, it happened more because we never factored that in. So if we put a little bit of thought behind it, and then if the non-compliance happen, then we will be able to answer the shore staff better, and we can present a case that we are on a trade where compliance is not possible, and henceforth I raise my hand, and you will get better support. And things have changed. Many of the companies, they have given extra officers for the same reason, because they realized it. So don't take it onto your shoulders. Plan it, and if you cannot comply, report it, and let the experts sitting ashore decide whether they want to give you an extra hand.
This is one of the best points Captain Tarun has just now raised. I have a violation of a fitter out at sea. And now company, that obviously engine room fitter was for engine room. In this case it was engine room. I have no control over it. I was not the one who kept fitter awake so much, and he kept it, he filled his work rest hour correctly, ended up violation. Now company CSO is after me to remove that. Because neither we can explain why he is having a violation out at sea when there was no breakdown, there was no emergency. And now we are talking about emergency. Of course, in emergency situations, you can just forget about work rest hour. So guys, you read SOLAS, MARPOL or not, but at least read the MLC. Even cadets, read it properly. There are a lot of good things for us. It is in our favor. Once you know the regulation, then you can counteract your senior. Then you can confidently tell him, this is the thing. In 1 week, I need to have 1 day rest. It is an MLC requirement. If your senior is giving you a rest in 1 week, he is not doing any favor to you. That's your right that you are supposed to get. Apart from watchkeeping duties, no other work is to be done on board once in a week. And if that holiday or Sunday happens to be in port, the next day is your holiday. Here I will also emphasize, before port calls, try to give them rest, because you know that you are gonna probably have provisions coming, bunker barge coming, service technicians coming. You are gonna need a lot of people. So when you know beforehand, do your pre-arrival checks and preparations well in advance. So last day, people can rest. What do you think?
See, we are the only people, people across the world, they bullshit their, work hours. We are the only people who are willfully bullshitting our rest hours. And that shows the, the underlying layer of why is it happening. And remember in mind, guys, that your rest hours, you are working for the company, for the management. And after doing that hard work, if you end up removing that work, you are not doing any good to the organization or to your own self. You have put in that much amount of work, so you must report it to the company. But before you do that, just make sure that you have done your bit of homework, and then present your case as it is, and I'm sure you will be able to uphold your case, and you will be able to battle it out even in front of the management, because you're not doing it willfully. You're doing it for the company. You're doing it to facilitate the business. If you have presented a rest hour to make sure that the ship sails on time, then remember you have done it to facilitate everyone, not just yourself alone. So don't take it onto your shoulder. Plan it the best way you can. And if still the non-compliance happened, report it, and just tell to the management that this is what I have done, this is what it is. Please suggest me, you're the experts.
And at last, join Merchant Navy right away. Join in a good company, because good company will listen to all these things. If you are in a Gulf on a small ship, then nobody cares about these things. And I totally agree that you will not be able to follow or even ask anything, because those guys themselves don't know any regulations. And change is always difficult, believe me, but change has happened. And as I am saying, not just me, captains like Tarun, a lot of my batchmates, they are all doing the same things. They are trying to comply with work rest hour, giving crew sufficient rest and taking care of them like a family. And when you do that, there will be a day when they really need to violate the rest hour and work 16 hours. And that day, this crew whose you have taken care like a father or like a family, they will work for you. And that is the day they will return to you. Don't worry about this small irrelevant jobs, chipping, painting, and these things. Concentrate on the main things.
Safety.
Because ship is made of iron, it will rust.
Yes.
So don't make them work for chipping, painting, and import, and we end up having a very big, massive fuck ups.
Yeah.
So with that, Captain Tarun will end this video.
So guys, last bit of thought from my end.
Yeah.
Try and be more familiar with those softwares which you have, which the company has given you as a tool to plan your work and research. Try and plan it one day before, because you pretty much know your time of arrival and departure, and pretty much see what if I get delay of 2-3 hours. What if I get arrive early, approximate 1 and 2 hours for port authorities, and you will realize that it's not that difficult. It's not always possible, but it's not that difficult either. And trust me, Marpol was once an option. Ballast water was once an option. They are no more an option.
No more option.
Absolute compliance is the only way, and soon you will see it with MLC work and rest too, because already MLC has covered every other spectrum pretty much in absolute terms. So that's my thought on it.
Yeah, hope you like this video. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed already, do that. And with that, stay fit. Jai Hind. I will see you on the next one. Boom. Link for MLC will be in description. We can't cover full, but we'll look at the main points. Minimum you need to have 10 hours rest in any 24 hours. Minimum 77 hours in any 7 day. 2 periods, one should be minimum of 6 hours. Interval between consecutive period of rest, not more than 14 hours. 77 hours weekly rest can be reduced to 70 hours and not allowed more than consecutive 2 weeks. Interval between 2 period of exception must not be less than twice duration of exception. Earlier I said rest should be 2 periods. One has to be 6 hours. This may be split into 3 periods, provided minimum 10 hours of rest in any 24 hours are met, and one period has to be minimum 6 hours. Other 2 periods should not be less than 1 hour.